We set each other free.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Eagles Nest podcast, another episode. Lost count a little while ago. I know we're over 30 at this point. This is a second one this week, and we got another one for you tomorrow night. Dr. Christopher Macklin's going to be with us tomorrow night talking about AI, transhumanism, nanotechnology, and its effect on humanity and our current evolutionary path that we're on right now. So that's going down tomorrow night. But man, tonight, this is, I've been looking forward to this interview for such a long time. I had him booked at the beginning. He was going to be one of my first guests on the podcast, but things didn't work out, and he's a busy guy. And yeah, if you're checking out any of the advertisements or anything tonight, we got Reuben Langdon here tonight. He is the creator host. For one, he's my friend. I met him in 2019 at Contact in Desert. Had some time to sit down and talk with him. So first and foremost, he's my friend. He's a medicine brother. He's he's went down the medicine path, drank ayahuasca before. He's definitely a medicine brother in that fact. But yeah, his achievements are not to be reckoned with. He is one of the creators. Well, he's the creator of interviews with extra dimensionals. That's what originally got me to know who he was, and I fell in love with his work, with the channeling work and everything. So and I let him explain all this when he gets here. But the show's on Gaia. I think it's in its third or fourth season right now. He can explain more. He was involved in the first Avatar. He was one of Jake's, the main character's stunt doubles, and he was also involved in the Last of Us game. And yeah, he's done tons of stuff. There's a lot more that he's done that I didn't mention here tonight. But without further ado, I'm gonna bring well, yeah, let me fill you guys in, and man, about me for a minute and what's been going on here at Sacred Journeys Within. Um, we got our well dug. We got water piped to the house. And yeah, before within the next few days, we'll have running water in the house. Been a long time coming, so really grateful and gratitude for the blessings coming right now. Um, Baby Ember's doing fine. She's coming in June. I just gave you an update on the kids last few days ago. Yeah, but Hawk's doing great. Every Got my daughter coming out visiting soon. My oldest daughter. That's very exciting. Um, Yeah, and gonna be starting construction on a brand new ceremony house out here uh, in Blanca at Sacred Journeys Within. So we're gonna have a ceremony house before next winter to offer our services here on the premises without having to travel or rent out places elsewhere for in the colder months. We're gonna be able to do it right here and eventually have housing, wash houses, and everything. And yeah, but the ceremony house is definitely going to be start construction as soon as the weather warms up just a little bit. But that's what's going on here. Got a big retreat coming up in Arca at our secondary location at the Poindexter Chiropractic. location there in Arkansas. We're going to be doing that next month. That's 4 days. Um, I believe it's going to be, you can check out the website sacredjourneyswithin.com, but it's 4 days, one San Pedro ceremony, two Bufo Vera ceremonies, and a chiropractic adjustment each day, integration each day at the end of the day. And it's all inclusive, all food, room and board, and everything is included. That's going to be a good one if you really want to dive into it. Meet us in Arkansas next month. And we still have a few seats left for that one, so don't miss out. There's also there's upgrades for private options like um, if you want your own room and everything. If not, you'll be uh, most likely be sharing a room with someone else. But yeah, there's that's a really nice place, beautiful place that our secondary location in Arkansas there. That's next month, so get on board and go log into the website once you get done listening to this podcast and check that out if that calls you at all, and start that process because time is limited on that one. Um, yeah. What else? Just as much gratitude for everything. But yeah, here's Reuben Langdon, guys. This is Reuben, brother.
Hello,
Welcome
hello.
to the welcome to the Eagles Nest podcast, man. It's been a
Andrew,
long
thanks for
time
having me.
coming. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it's been a few years since we first met at Contact on the Desert, right?
Yeah.
And I've been following your tweets and your progress. So it sounds like you've got this podcast going. So congrats, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, we've been dancing around. We tried to get you on at the beginning, and uh, kind of had I think a mix up with your schedule where you had to go. You had to travel at that time, and
Yeah.
we kind of been dancing around for a while. And it's just good to have you, man. You're definitely one. You know, I was talking to my wife. I was like, I've had a lot of people on the show, a lot of interesting conversations, but I know this one's going to be really good because one, you're a medicine brother. Two, like
Yeah.
I know where I've been with it, been in your vibe space, and I know who you are. I totally honor your work with extra dimensionals, bro. It's groundbreaking. It's you're shifting paradigms, and that's ultimately the name of the game right now is like a paradigm shift, and like you're supplying that through your work, man. So I totally honor that, like 100%.
Yeah, I'm just documenting my journey in a sense. It's it has been a fun ride, and it just continues to get more and more interesting as we go through this mass transformation on the planet
Yeah.
right now.
So let's roll back a little bit.
Mhm.
How was early years like? You grew up in the country, city, like.
I grew up sort of the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, and lived a typical kid life where parents divorced at a young age, and kind of going back and forth. I guess the not so typical thing was my mom was involved with the Ramtha thing. I don't know if you've heard of Ramtha, a Jay-Z Knight who channels a being called Ramtha. Um, and that was really popular in the late 80s, 90s, early 90s. And my mom got involved in that. So that exposed me to sort of out there kind of stuff. Well, my mom was kind of always out there in a bit, but that particular adventure into the idea of channeling, um, which I thought was complete BS at the time as a rebellious teenager. Um, I was very much against the whole concept of I thought it was just a show. I didn't realize I didn't know what channeling was, and I didn't care.
Mhm.
But it was enough to plant the seeds. So as I got older and got exposed to different cultures, I moved to Japan at the age of 19 and began studying martial arts. Aikido was my first main martial art there, and then got into karate, jiu-jitsu, judo, or aiki jiu-jitsu, which is an offshoot of jiu-jitsu. And then as I explored and saw the world through a different lens, through a different culture, I started to rethink my mom's craziness.
Yeah.
I realized that great philosophers like Lao Tzu and even Bruce Lee, who's a fan of Lao Tzu's work, and also Confucius and our other Buddha and all of our great Asian philosophers and spiritual folks, that a lot of what they were saying was very similar to some of these crazy things my mom was into. So I opened up to the idea of channeling a little bit more. And my mom had sent me, while I was in Japan, she had sent me book one of Conversations with God, which was by Neil Donald Walsh. And it was a bestseller at the time. This was in the early 90s. And then I, a terrible reader, still am. I don't read many books, but I broke my ankle in a accident, in a motorcycle accident, and sort of had some downtime, so to say, from my training and my pursuit of the action world. Becoming an action star was sort of my goal. And sorry, I have a cat down here, so I'm just like, he's ready to. I'm petting him, but he's ready to bite me at the same time. So he's like,
"No worries, man. This is live anyway. This just to give you a heads up. Always this is we're always live, and it's just always we're just hanging out. So
sure.
Animals coming in are no big deal.
All right,
no worries at all.
So he's got his own page on Instagram. It's El Gato Days. So if you want to follow him. My wife and I take pictures of them.
Just keep on rolling. I'm gonna scroll for a minute.
Okay. I think it's DAYZ. But yeah, so what happened? So I read Conversations with God, and it was pretty profound. The philosophies that were written in Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do, they sort of matched. Or the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, they sort of matched up in a lot of the ideas, and so that resonated with me. I still was not, diving into channeling at that point. I had, the book. Neil talks about how the book was written through automatic writing and through channeling what he perceived as God. He asked, what is this? What is this? This energy. And it's a nice bridge for people with a Christian background, that and their idea of God and who is God, and then he kind of brings it through in a very palatable way, and some of these concepts. And even in book 3, which really caught my attention at the time, this was years later, I read book 3, and I remember they mentioned that ETs are real. And I remember that was just such a heavy realization for me, something that I had kind of thought about and knew, but when I read it in the book, I was like, wow, okay. Mm-hmm. And then it was sort of a correlation, or a number of events at the time. I was working on Avatar. And I had, I was, studying, I was still reading Conversations with God. I was reading some other philosophers, and martial arts philosophy was always a big part of my, my spiritual practice, I guess. At a younger age, I didn't have much of one, but when I was sort of seeking, I would choose martial art books, like the Book of Five Rings from Miyamoto Musashi, Art of War, right? These types of martial art philosophy books that most fighters kind of get into, but they have great lessons of life. And and then so working on Avatar, being exposed to sort of indigenous practices, which I hadn't really looked at or knew much of. Um,
Can
mhm.
I pause this for a
Yeah,
second?
yeah,
Um, so I had Randy Beatmeyer. He was host of Quantum Effect over at Gaia. It was a show that ran. I had him on the show on Tuesday,
yeah. Hmm.
and it's funny that my guests always run in like packs. Like there's
Sure.
always something.
Yeah.
So he got into martial arts, and like it was. So I went, and he was talking about how that really opened up his energy field
Hmm.
unknowingly before he really. A lot of us, for me, I drank ayahuasca for the first time, and then I started after a while. Then I started figuring out the energy, but it seems like
Hmm.
the martial arts like lead people in the opposite way, like open their body up first, and then
Sure.
your mind
Yep.
opens up, and
Yep. Yep.
that's kind of the path that he was taking.
Hmm.
Um, Wanted to touch on that and just point that out. That's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. I was very
interesting.
against psychedelics. I was very against any kind of
I
mind
yeah.
altering substances, not having done the full research into them.
Mhm,
Um, and, I had never been high. I'd never really been drunk. I've had a few drinks. This is
mhm,
up until, my mid 30s, working on Avatar. And then I had a UFO sighting, right? So this was while I was still working on Avatar. I think just being exposed to all these ideas and things, my mind was open enough to um, allow me to have the experience, I guess, and be
mhm.
and not just brush it off as a figment of my imagination. Um,
Mhm.
because I knew at that time I was like, I'm not hallucinating. I've never hallucinated before in my life, so this is definitely
Yeah.
not a hallucination. Um, and now that I know what hallucinations are, I can definitely tell, what is the difference, and
Mhm.
um, and there's not much actually. uh,
Not
so
really.
yeah, okay, buddy. Sorry, my cat is.
All good.
He's like super chill, but yet he's like, don't pet me, but pet me.
The,
He's got one of those looks.
the other part of that pause was
Hmm.
from an insider's perspective, like why did they cut the scene out from so I know that Avatar like sparked your interest for ayahuasca, like
Right,
because
right.
it was obviously a recreated scene
Hmm.
depiction of a ceremony. It's
Yeah,
very
that was the first
clear.
time I heard about ayahuasca. It was on set.
So why I know this question has to be on a lot of people's minds. Why do you think that they cut it out? Like, I mean, I
It was, I
think I
think, just
know why
timing.
they cut
It
it
was,
out. Like,
no, it was. I think about timing. A lot of things. The first version of the film that we had sort of shot, and they had piecing it together and editing all the pieces together. It was like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour film.
mm,
And already in the theaters, I forget how long the first one was. It was definitely a full 2 hours, maybe even 2.5. Um, so we had to go back and reshoot a lot of scenes. Like there was this big fight scene between Stay and Jake, and I had rehearsed and practiced months, and we shot. It took us like probably 3 days to film this fight scene, this epic battle between an arm battle between with these sticks, these kind of Navi fighting sticks, and that
uh-huh.
were sort of designed by Jim, and we had to come up with this new fighting style, and
Amazing, man.
uh,
That's cool
uh,
shit.
yeah, and
That's
but
cool,
the
man.
whole thing got cut. They were like, okay, it turned into just when
Uh,
when Jake when Sute comes at him with his knife, and Jake gives him a right hook, and and he falls on the ground. The whole fight scene turned into that. Like when I heard, I was devastated. I was like, "What? You're gonna cut the fight scene? No way!" It was just there was just too many, and there's other things that got cut too. That including the scene, the initiation scene that Jake had with a psychedelic worm, right? He
uh,
takes it in internally, but it was based on ayahuasca as Jim explained it in when we were preparing for it. He's like, yeah, there's this psychedelic tea ceremony that they do in South America or Central and South America, and this is what this is based off of. And we're like, oh, okay. So that piqued my interest. And then I had another good stunt friend named Trampus, who we worked together on Pirates of the Caribbean. And he was, I had heard he was heavy into ceremony. He had kept going down to the Sacred Valley in Pisac, Peru, and working with a shaman named Diego. I think he's passed now, but I had heard a lot, and I actually, sat down with him and was preparing myself for this this journey. And then it ended up not working out. I ended up moving to Atlanta around that time, and magically the medicine showed up for me at that time. So in sort of underground circumstances. And so the medicine came to me.
Crazy how it works, man.
Yeah, and the medicine came to me, and I and it was at the same time that I was supposed to go down to Peru. So I was like, okay, I guess once you commit, this is how this works. And was able to take part. And I think, what was that? 2000, I want to say 14 or 15, maybe 15. I think it was like January 2015. It was right around the new year. So that was my first Aya journey. And since I've, been, I don't know if I mentioned to you last time, I'd been filming a documentary around that and following some shamans, and I've been to Peru and all over the country.
Nice.
And it's still in the works, so to say. I had to kind of put it on the back burner until we can clear up some of these laws around the medicine, which is happening, which is awesome.
Colorado just moved in towards mushrooms first of the year. So first January 1st we went to, we can cultivate now, we can we can consume, we can even consume with a family, like as a family get together. It's crazy. I never thought it was going to be,
it's moving fast. It's moving fast, which is good and bad. Obviously, without proper education comes abuse. So, we have to, I think, as long as we can continue to have educated conversations and teach people about the dangers, because I as there are dangers involved with the medicine, with improper use of the medicine. And so it's awesome. I just think it's great that we are seeing the legalization, because it is a medicine, and medicine should be made legal, of course. And many of the so-called medicines that we have in our pharmaceutical world, those are the ones that should be made illegal and not allowed to have access so easily. But that's sort of the shorter. I jumped around a couple places, but probably the places you wanted to go. That's perfect. So while you were talking, I come up with a second part of that question. If Avatar 1 was released in the current climate now, do you think they would have kept the ayahuasca scene in there? It's hard to say, because I'm gonna let my cat exit. All right, cat, you gotta exit. Hey, buddy. All right, you're off. You're done. Okay, he's getting too feisty. All right, sorry, I'm back. Cat is cool. Gone.
All good.
I don't think so. Just because, again, of the time constraints. There's a lot that was trying to get packed in there with the story. Let's see, Avatar 2. Have you seen that one?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Okay, I'm just trying to think. I mean, there's some aspects of initiation, not in the medicine sense, but I think Jim did a really good job. There's kids involved, with the story, and sort of showing tribal life in the sense of different different Navi tribes and what they
Mm.
have different belief systems that some of them have, which which we have in our in our society now. We have different indigenous tribes, and they each have their own wisdoms and belief systems, um, and sometimes they get along, sometimes they don't, and
Oh yeah.
it's in the movie it does a good representation of that dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a important thing that don't really people on the outside really don't realize, that there is a lot of fighting even within intertribal fighting,
Sure.
like
Oh yeah.
and
Go to Hopi.
especially
Go to
yeah,
Hopi. Crazy.
go to South Dakota or North Dakota, not calling
Right,
any specific tribes out, but
right,
there are,
right, right.
in any tribe really, like
Yeah.
any organization. But I ultimately think what's happening right now on a large scale, like on a collective scale, the I think the duality lesson is coming to an end, and I
Hmm.
think that's slowly but surely happening, one by one, as each and every one of us, make that choice to step forward, to step through the passageway and stay on the other side of that passageway. So
Hmm.
I think that's moving forward in that way.
Yeah, the new generation is I think
Mm,
they're pretty they see all the constant bickering and fighting, and they're just
mm.
kind of done with it, and they're like, this is not, we've been doing this for generations. It's time to time to
Yeah,
look at things from a new lens. So
yeah.
which is cool to see.
I got a buddy in Arkansas. He's a chiropractor. We met because I got thrown off a horse, hurt my back, went to the chiropractor. Started, I'm always talking about plant medicine, so I was talking about ayahuasca, and
Yeah, yeah.
they end up coming to him and his wife end up coming to ceremony with me, and now we're good friends and like actually partners. Like we have a location in Arkansas where it's his location, but we're holding retreats there, and we'll be holding a retreat there next month. But uh,
Yeah, I heard that chiropractic in San Pedro. That sounds like a wonderful combination.
yeah.
It's
And
awesome.
also the bufo
Okay.
is good because you have a lot of energy, like a lot of energy moving through your system at once.
Mm,
So
okay.
the chiropractic work, mix with the energetic work, because basically chiropractic work is opening up energetic pathways.
Sure.
If you crack a back, you've opened, you've helped moved energy through, ultimately that chakra line, that chakra
Yep.
point or whatever.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, anyways, um, I done ceremony with Changa with him, ayahuasca Changa ceremony, and his wife had a beautiful experience our first ceremony. He didn't have like a breakthrough, and
Hmm.
this is, our friendship. This is went on for about 2 years, and finally he's like, "Hey, I'm ready for a breakthrough." I'm like, perfect, I got bufo now, and like this has got to give you a breakthrough, like.
Mm.
And
Is that 5 MAO?
yeah, so
Wow.
he's
Okay.
in his 50s and
Hmm.
Christian, and very very Christian. Maybe he's in his 60s even,
Hmm.
but anyways, we were at his property, and I was like, let's go out, let's go out into the yard. I set up my altar, and he laid down and started medicine to him. And after he got to a certain point, I was like, hey, set up and look at the sun. And man, he that one 5 MEO experience changed his whole trajectory. It, he still honors the Christian ideals, but
Hmm.
his whole reality shifted because he saw like the sun, like as a Mayan, like,
Hmm.
he's I'm not gonna go into his whole vision, but he had an extreme vision that come out of the sun,
Mm.
and it just shifted all those storylines, kind of just faded away. And
Yep.
I see that on the collective, obviously every ceremony or every that I do for people and stuff, I see it, but I also see it just on a mass scale, like, programs like yourselves and like
Mhm.
so many other like uh movements and books and podcasts and talks and lectures and whatever, or people
Yep.
just share, or people just sharing their story, and it
Mhm.
allows someone else's mind to move forward and move forward and move forward. And that's, man, it's moving very
Or
fast right now.
my goal
Very
is
fast.
to just spark curiosity. So,
Perfect. Yeah, dude.
if people can get curious from watching, the show and or hearing podcasts like this, then that's that's all we need, and then people can
Yeah.
go and do their own research, because it's uh, truth doesn't need a spokesperson.
Yeah.
It's individual, so each person is going to find their own truth, and there are universal truths that we all come
Yeah.
to.
Hmm.
And and I think that's what's happening with the this great the great conjunction of
Hmm.
2020, and then what we're dealing with now with the we're sort of facing the shadow. We're doing the shadow work globally now,
Hmm.
as these nefarious forces are showing us their cards, and letting us know who they are, so we can flush it out, so we can purge
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
this toxin garbage out of our systems, and then start building anew, a new earth.
Hmm.
And that's a big message that I have over on my membership page. I have a interview with Ed membership portal that we do live calls and chats 3 times a week, and have a great community. And we're sharing pointers and ways and methods to basically build how to build the new earth.
Hmm. Beautiful. Yeah, actually, I seen some of that. I seen some of
Mm.
that on your page for sure. Yeah, I haven't seen every single one of your videos, but I've definitely checked them out. Um, yeah, at first, man, I couldn't get enough of it. Like, it was just like, it was so amazing to me, and I was like, even after this is after ayahuasca when I started seeing your stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, my first ceremony was in 2016, and I shit like 15 times my first ceremony, and seen nothing, and thought it was all a hoax. And the second night with it, wow, just I, I long story short, I thought I was on a railroad tracks at the last moment, about to get ran over by a train. That was the light that overtook me. Like, my mind held on all the way to the last minute. Just like
Mm.
holding on for grasping for dear life until the light
Hmm.
hit me, and it was like, oh, like this is what's going on now. But
Yeah, we all have those
yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
Had a few of
So,
those.
yeah, I bet. So, and we're about to get into that right now. So, what is the what's your craziest moment on that you've had on the show so far? Like, well, let's back up. What was the
Mhm.
first time that your hair really stood up on the back of your neck while filming your show, the interviews with extraterrestrials?
Hmm. Well, when I'm actually filming the show, there's not a whole lot that I'm tuning into when it comes to extraordinary happenings. I'm very much, because I'm dealing with electronics and cameras and sound gear, and it's a production, right? So, and then I'm
Hmm.
honoring the channel's time, and thinking about the shots. So a lot of it is about it's the construction of the show. It's like being in film production for the several years that I've been in. It's just okay. We got a cat entity is coming back in here. He might see what happens. Um, so so I had my sort of there he goes. All right, good, yeah, all right. So I had my film background and production background, and basically I was just applying that to this sort of wacky world of channeling. And but for me, it wasn't so wacky because I was just, it was just like, oh, this is another film shoot. This is just very much, I have to pay attention here and get the shots and get everything done. So my process is usually when I'm in editing is when the information sinks in.
When it hits you.
Yeah. And it's hearing it over and over and over again. So, because it is multi-dimensional information. You hear it once, you're like, oh, okay. And then you hear it again, and you're like, oh, okay. If you take it in different, if you take some of this information and you put it in different context where you're at emotionally, physically, not thinking about the cameras, if I'm just here at home editing and I can sit with it. And that's where I've had, sometimes I'd be editing it and I'm like, I have to take a break and just go like sit and meditate on some of that information.
I bet, dude. You've been doing it a minute too. Like it's not, there's not a couple,
Yeah. It's been since I started the show, it's been a 10-year journey. This is the 10-year anniversary of having the idea. 2014 is when I started filming.
That's great, man.
But 2013 is when I sort of was having the conversations with Wendy. I'd produced the Citizen Hearing and Disclosure in 2013, and that simultaneously I was having the conversations with Daryl and Wendy and Nora and others who would come to my events that I was putting on at my studio, and sort of getting my world rocked in a sense, and then, but it was great because it was all of the the martial arts, the meditation, the conversation with God, perspective, the UFO evidence-based world that I had dove in deep into and started finding out about UFO events and cases, from having all the people at the Citizen Hearing. So it was I had this framework of evidence mixed with some spirituality, not a ton, but enough, and just what I was experiencing with my interviews, because I was interviewing experiencers about getting abducted and stuff. So I was sort of coming at it from that perspective, and every time I'd sit down and ask the questions, it just another layer of you could look at it both ways. One layer of the onion was getting peeled away, and then but simultaneously my perspective and perception of reality was continuously expanding and getting bigger and broader, and puzzle pieces were starting to fit. And something so grandiose as the universe was actually starting to make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing work. It definitely opened my mind to some things like that I didn't perceive possible before. Like I had a spontaneous Osiris channeling, like in 2018 was my first channeling, and yeah, it was nothing. It's really weird how what was said through me and everything, and how that being was speaking, and I had no knowledge of Osiris before that time, and looking them up. My wife ended up hitting the record button, into a few minutes into it, and she's like, "Well, this is something going on," and because she's seen some things happen to me before, some weird stuff happened to me, but yeah, so when I went back and listened to it, and then I started like researching some of the stuff that was said, and it's like, holy shit. And like the parallels between my life now and Osiris's journey is pretty insane. But yeah, it's just interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff.
And that's a big part of the show is sort of uncovering and going deeper into these different archetypes like Osiris, or from sort of stepping into it through the ET perspective, with the different species and different civilizations, but then realizing the connections that we have to earthbound civilizations, Egypt, Rome, Atlantis, Lemuria,
Yeah.
these other ancient civilizations that have stories, and their stories are overlapping with some of these galactic stories, and we're
Yeah.
continuing to have the same story, and we're doing it again here as humanity's
Why?
going through this one.
This is my question every time, and it's coming up now, so I'll just ask it. Why do you think Egypt is such a pivot point for in our current ascension path? Like it seems like it's a major role along with Lemuria and stuff like that. But I don't hear about Lemuria so much. Like Egypt seems to be like
Well, Egypt
every
was the last. It was the last remnants of Atlantis. So if you're looking at that Atlantean technology um, that survived the great cataclysms, then Egypt sort of is the closest we have in a physical form that survived, passing down through the generations of those of that ancient technology, ancient wisdom. So I think that's the main reason why it's so prolific in our society now, and why we resonate with the idea of Egypt and the pyramids. We have physical structures that hold great power, that
yeah,
are still somewhat held together, and missing a lot of pieces,
yeah,
but still so much knowledge is being uncovered. Robert Grant is doing great work in his shows on Gaia, and his just his work in general of uncovering some of those secrets is
hmm
something to look at. But yeah, I think that's the main. Reason is it's just it's close to home compared to, let's say, the tale of Atlantis. The actual Atlantean cities, the Lemurian cities, the continent of Mu. Right, we have these ancient
yeah,
tales. So those have been lost and washed away, and other than just remnants, and even those remnants are hard to access. Where Egypt is sort of, I think, the technology that has also been lost over the years through the Egyptian ways is still somewhat obtainable. If we go there, we can see on the right through the writings and the hieroglyphs,
yeah.
and doing like the work that Robert is doing, Robert Grant. There's still it's still accessible.
Mm.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
all of it's accessible if we, use channeling or go through the
yeah, yeah,
Akash
yeah,
or something like that.
yeah,
But
for
in a
sure.
physical
But
sense, yeah.
it seems like Egypt, is almost, you know, almost everybody that comes to ceremony with me, anyone that I
Mhm.
talk to, I get emails all the time or messages all the time, like, and just either asking questions or just people sharing, things that's happening to them, especially after ceremony. Like it opens up. Obviously, it just opens up a lot, especially if it's their
Mhm.
first ceremony or their first really big breakthrough. Uh, the months, the weeks and months after that is it's a roller coaster ride.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, it seems like Egypt is like almost like a stage. It's almost has its own stage of this ascension process. Like, okay, they're in Egypt phase, right? They're going through their Egypt phase right now,
Mhm.
or they're going through
Yeah, if you look at all the phases and where we're at right now, it's a repeating story. So you have a civilization,
yeah,
whether it's Atlantis, Lemuria, Atlantis, gets built up, and then the people give their power away to the hierarchy, to the top, king, queen, monarchs, all the different hierarchical structures that have been put in place, and then eventually that civilization falls. So we just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And we had Egypt, and then we had Rome, and then we're doing it again, as America is getting greedy and printing more money and creating silly laws and trying to enslave humanity with a illegal weaponized drug. It's not really a vaccine, but it's it's a full on weapon, and that's coming out now. The DOJ ordered for Pfizer and others to create a biological weapon on humanity. So you get the same thing over and over again with these stories, and as we're getting closer to the pinnacle of either giving in um, and having the tyranny fully take us and collapse, or we get this time to overcome and drown out the shadow, which is sort of the reality that I'm leaning towards, the one that I see coming to fruition is that one. And because I'm not, we already know the problems, we know the issues, and there's no need to do this again. We've done it so many times.
It's over and
So
over again.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think you're right. Like, my guidance that I got when I first started getting like large downloads on the shamanic path, and stuff, like, it told me that I was gonna see a totally different life towards the end of my life than I did at the
Hmm.
beginning.
Hmm.
So and I kind of got a good idea of how many years I will be on this earth, and
Hmm.
I'm a little bit over half. So
Hmm.
I know that I'm starting down. I'm starting towards that reality that I saw,
Hmm.
and to see it, to see it finally happening, and like really, like when it hit me, like, oh shit, this is really happening. This
Hmm.
is it's really going forward, and you know my guides, or whatever you want to call it, the universe,
Hmm.
told me in the beginning, like, um this is something that hasn't happened ever at this it's humanity and the earth going through a change at the same energetic change, evolutionary change at the same time, and it's the first time that it's actually happened in synchronicity like this. And
Yep.
it's we're going to enter a very peaceful time, is
Hmm.
what I've been shown. What you've talked to, I'm sure this is a subject a lot in the work. What are the
Hmm.
guides saying? What are the guides currently saying? I know that you've been filming and stuff like that. What are they currently saying?
We got a lot of work to do. It's not. It's not going to be a free ride.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of there are some channelers out there and spiritual people out there that like to sing kumbaya and hug the trees and do all that stuff, which is great. I hug trees, and sometimes I'll sing kumbaya, and
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
But there's a practical aspect that has to be done in this reality, in this 3D, even though we're moving into a more quasi physical, less dense reality. There's still a physical aspect to it, and there's certain principles and basic actions that need to be taken to create that reality. We're not, I guess some of us could just sit back and let it create, let other people create it for us, I suppose. But I don't think that's the purpose. While most people are here right now, sort of what's coming through the extra dimensionals, is we've all signed up to be here at this time, this very important, rare opportunity in a cosmic sense, where civilization is up leveling to a new density, a new
Hmm.
dimensional reality. And in doing so, it can be quite traumatic, it can be quite chaotic, right, as it is right now. And
Yeah.
but also, what has to happen is a lot of legwork has to happen for people to make things happen, to get us to the next level,
Hmm.
right? We have to, and this is happening globally. We're washing out the crooks of the world are exposing themselves.
Yeah.
Um, the um, the nefarious agendas are coming to play, and people
Hmm.
are waking up to these agendas, and they're starting to Maybe they're starting. It seems like they're starting to at least realize there's a problem. Um,
Yeah.
but the next big phase is we have to rebuild this planet. We have to build it with new principles. You know, the old.
Mhm.
I'm definitely a fan of the U.S. Constitution, but we've seen how that has been demolished and destroyed and
Yeah.
just ignored. And it'd be great to go back to that and use that as a base, and then sort of hit the reset button. I think in the sense of um, getting rid of all the loopholes, because the law, all these laws and executive orders, and that's why we were able to have the tyranny of the world, is because they created an emergency situation where they could execute and have an experimental bioweapon deployed on humanity without any checks or balances.
Yeah.
And so those types of loopholes are going to have to be mended and fixed and rebuilt. So society as a whole across the globe, not just in America, is going to have to rethink how
Yeah.
things have been done, and how are we going to do them moving forward. And this is what I'm excited about, because I've got a ton of ideas, and that's
Yeah.
what we're
For
that's
sure.
what we're doing over on my membership portal. Is um, there's still a lot of people in the portal that I think this is generally humanity in general is, all this information, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And to think that our governments of the world, our military, is capable of deploying such tyranny on its own people. Not to say that the
Yeah.
people in the military knew what was going on. Most of them, I would say 99.9% of the military personnel have no idea what's going on. They're just following orders. But the
Yeah.
fact that we could have things slip through the cracks as they have, well, this is a major problem. And most people couldn't even don't even fathom, like, that the amount of uh, just pure evil that exists on the planet still, and and what it's capable of, and how are we going to sort of clean it up, and
Yeah.
uh,
It starts here though. Like,
it
I
does. You're
think
right.
it's an individual sport until the players on the field say to pick you off and tell you it's time
Yep.
to come play. Like, it's an individual sport until then. Like,
True.
because you had
True.
you know it's
Yeah,
that's what I
it's been a stressful waiting game, watching on the sidelines as players drop from cardiac arrest. And I mean, we should be laughing. It's
yeah.
terrible, but
No, it is terrible. It's so terrible. Like, but look, I have a habit of looking at things from a global scale. Like, so
sure.
it's I see what's happening now. Like, there's a lot of purging going on. Like,
Hmm.
this I've facilitated and led thousands of ceremonies in my over the years, and maybe not thousands but definitely hundreds.
Hmm.
And um what I see now is a collective purging.
Yeah.
And you can either take part in the ceremony, or you can be like, okay, I've done my purging, and
Right.
like, and you guys get it out, and like, what I'll be here and hold your hair, and our rinse out the bucket when you're done, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I think there's a lot of us doing that work on the side right now too. But
yeah,
but it is. I think so. Get back to the thing. I think there's an action. We're getting ready for the action phase. Once we realize the issues, which many are coming to that realization, and then there's a cleanup because of all the damage that's been done, right?
yeah,
Environmentally and economically, and just to the individual families and people on the planet, right? The homeless is at record levels globally, and especially in California, in New York, and our major cities, that there's going to have to be a major
Ma- mass
humanitarian.
mass shootings.
Yeah,
I
mass
just
shoot,
I
those
just
kinds of
seen the
things.
figures.
Yeah.
I just seen the figures the other day. Like,
Hmm.
what are we in February right now? I think, and this was like a week or two ago.
Hmm.
We've had 34 mass shootings in the United States this year. Like
Wow.
we've had
Yeah.
that's more than one a day. Like when I saw the figures, it
Yeah.
was in January. It was more than one a day. That's
Yeah.
just it's fucking mind blowing, man. That's just mind blowing, But
Yeah.
man, there's man, that's negative energy. I can't talk. Gotta get off that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
um, what
But
is I just want to ask this question real quick. What do you
sure.
think? I've seen I had a set of visions of it when all this first started, and it was months of like dreams, and I'd come out every day, and I would see a different event. One of the things I saw, and it was told to me what this was gonna, why this was happening. This was a mass contact event that was meant for a paradigm shift for a positive sense, like for the planet.
Hmm.
Not talking about the invasion
Right. Right.
of the flesh eating, grays or whatever,
Sure. Sure.
whatever the storyline is. But I um I definitely saw that the whole planet being engulfed in ships
Mm.
and making ground contact,
Awesome.
and their their vibration, there was so many of them around the earth, their vibration over overtook any duality that was here, and that was, and then I seen a rebuild phase after that. But I
Mm.
saw like one particular event. Like, have have you heard anything about that from any of your work, or like
Yeah, I
I should say,
can.
how do you feel about that? Like,
Oh, that resonates. I definitely see that. The way I see it happening though is more in a smaller sense. You're doing C5s, I'm doing C5s. I think on a smaller scale, we are groups. Will continue to do the contact work and to continue to um, raise the vibration of the planet, right? As we're doing this, and more people sort of coming online, joining the groups, and it doesn't have to be just C5s. I think just praying, helps, and from a
mhm,
Christianity standpoint, just people coming together and community, and it doesn't have to be in an ET package, so to say.
yeah,
That's just what we're involved in, and
mhm,
so more and more communities coming together, more and more groups sort of saying enough is enough, with that separation and division mentality, and
mhm,
um, and in whatever form and fashion, and for us it's a CE5, and then so we'll have contact, we'll have guidance on how to prepare and what to do, perhaps getting ready for an event like what you're talking about, that we can help guide people to not go crazy when that
yeah,
happens, and
yeah.
having conversations like this, that it's like, yeah, this is not an alien invasion. This is,
Yeah,
let's
it's
use,
not a scary, it's not a scary thing at all, really.
yeah, get out of your
It's
head, turn off the news, tune
yeah,
into your heart, and feel what it is. Does it feel, instead of using the mental and the mental smokescreen that
yeah,
mainstream media preys on, right? They know that there's a disconnect through the mind and the heart, and if they can instill some fear molecules into that, then they're gonna get away with murder, literally.
yeah,
So we have to we have to continue to tune in, and teach
yeah,
others how to tune in, and teach others how to tune in and not listen to us, because if they're listening to us as the authority, then we're just creating the same problem that we're continually going into
yeah,
going
man.
into.
I
So
totally agree. I
yeah,
totally agree. That's the time for deityship is over.
yeah.
That time is come and gone. It served its purpose in the time, but
Hmm.
now, like, you know, you have to understand your particle source, and
Mhm.
step into that. And it's your really choice of how far you step into it. And just
Mhm.
know, like, the rabbit hole's deep. Like,
Yeah,
the rabbit hole's really deep, man.
it is deep.
And be careful what you ask for. But I know, like, there's sets of laws. There's four laws that I was told that the universe has to abide by. One is, free will, obviously.
Mhm.
Anything you do to another being will be returned to you. No,
Mhm.
you'll
What you
not
put out is
stop.
what you get back.
Yeah, basically, what you put out,
Yeah.
what you get back. Um, no being will stop the experience of another being,
Mhm.
and one is all in all is one, and
Mhm.
all of them connect. Basically, that's just one law, but they all connect.
Sure.
So
Sure. Sure.
that's what I was showed, like, that the universe abides by. Like, so I
Mhm.
understand. It helps me understand, why that they can't zap people in the head, and like ultimately, another version of yourself can't zap you in the head to open your mind right now. You have to
You have to
want and
welcome it.
ask.
Yeah.
You have to
You have to
want
ask
ask
for it.
for it.
Mm.
And
Yep.
dude, my third ceremony with ayahuasca, I made the mistake of asking, like, why I'm here on this planet right now. And, like,
That's not
that
a
that
mistake.
that was like that was like me turning the knobs and, like, cracking the code to the safe
Mhm.
unknowingly, and the door popped open. Like, holy shit.
Yep, that'll happen. Yeah,
Yeah, so
there's a lot behind that safe too. Huh.
yeah, we want to. So we're trying to get back to, energy healing and all that. Ultimately,
Mhm.
that's what it's all about. Even with these plants and everything, it's still all about energy and frequency and vibration. um we've been working a lot here at Secret Journeys Within, actually traveling, doing private ceremonies for people within the life care. Uh, uh, that's been happening more than once with us, and it's something that, people that are, like, terminally ill with cancer, and they call us, and they want to never done a ceremony,
Mhm.
and we're going and spend a night or two with them at their home. And yeah, we've we've had really amazing results from it, and it's
Mhm.
some work that I take very deeply. Like, I've had a near death experience in 2019 in the Sundance Arbor. I was sundancing, and went
Mhm.
out and died in the Sundance. And that gave me a lot of freedom. When I came out of
Mhm.
that, it gave me a lot of
Mhm.
sovereignty, true sovereignty. And these ceremonies really give people true sovereignty. So,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
it definitely, you know what's happening right now on a global scale is just amazing. And
Mhm.
yeah.
And
So what?
and your work with the medicine is great. I just know that not everybody is going to have access to that modality. So I try to look at as
Yeah.
many different modalities as possible
Mhm.
to
Yeah. you
and
know
explore those in my show and stuff.
yeah. Even and I'd love to get into those just a minute, but even the mushrooms, like,
Hmm.
mushrooms are becoming, rapidly much more accepted right now. Ayahuasca is,
Sure.
trailing behind.
Yeah.
5-MeO is a little back there in the back of the pack, as far as being
Yeah.
accepted by the whole. But it seems like mushrooms is almost catching up to cannabis as far as, like,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
accepted by the masses.
Sure.
and
Yeah.
and that's real exciting. Mushrooms has done a lot of work with, I've done a lot of work myself with mushrooms personally in my own growth and everything, and
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah. They were a big part
And
of my journey originally.
yeah. So the people that channel, they all have different techniques to get in the zone. And, like, um but what was probably the weirdest thing you've ever seen, like, someone to get in the zone that you've seen for people channeling?
Well, season three, there's a guy named Masil, and he's quite physical with his getting into the zone. I don't know if you've seen Rob Gothier. He does this toning, and then once he's in the channeling zone, he's doing treb, and he's kind of moving around like this and stuff. but a seal takes the cake for sure. um, the information he channels is amazing. It's his main sort of go-to beings is the Elohim, but many different angelic entities come through him. And but physically he's quite physical, I should say, with his getting into the channeling mode. And his episodes aren't on Gaia. They didn't pick that one up, maybe because it was a little too but on Vimeo you can see his Asil Totska is 2 episodes of him, a personal interview with him, and then his channeled interview, which we did at his place in we were up in the Bay Area.
Yeah,
it was pretty awesome.
I was man, I started so I channeled Osiris one time, and then I started like, it was happening like a lot not a lot, but it happened a few times after that. And then I started asking the question like while I was in there, because I was coherent like during the channeling. Drew was still coherent, but there was something else talking through me,
Sure.
And I asked how to do this more with more control, or what more will from my part on it.
Yeah.
And it didn't give me an answer, and I went to crack my back like that, and my back popped, and then I went back and forth, and my movement pushed air up through my nose, and I felt air coming out through my nose. And they're like, you do this and you say Osiris 3 times, and that Osiris was my gateway through. And then when I went to the other side, like, yeah, but after a while I was just like, I don't want to do this. like I don't want to do this. And they're like, well, you don't even have to like do that anymore. You could just like speak at source. So you can just take away all those names and all this other stuff. And now I kind of I refer to myself as an open channel. Like I still identify as Drew. I mean, I'm still a human being. I cuss, I smoke cigarettes, I drink coffee, like a fiend. I smoke too much weed. But I feel like my heart vibration is aligned with the universe's heart vibration. So, one of my first man, I feel like you're interviewing me now, and you haven't even asked a question. I'm just rambling. But one of my first ceremonies with, when I asked like what I was supposed to be doing here on Earth, I saw a light coming down from the sky, from Father Sky, going into my crown chakra, going through my energetic system, and then glowing in my throat chakra. And I was going to translate the vibration coming through that for the people, and then bring them to that language, and then turn them loose. Like, but I was going to help bring people back from that. Obviously, these ways, we can sit here and talk till we're blue in the face. Like, you could have 100 million, you could have 100 episodes, 100 seasons of your show out there, but ultimately
I have no lack of content, that's for sure. I I'm on season 3, and what episode are we on now? We're on like I'm about to release a new episode this week. Let me see where I'm at. I think 20 yeah, but basically, yeah, there's no lack of of content, and
crazy, man.
and new channelers like yourself coming online every day. So and that's kind of why I moved into the membership corner that I offer, because one, these shows, they keep, if you've seen season 1, 2, and 3, they keep getting more exotic and more polished, I should say. Before it was just me sitting down, throwing a camera up and like, let's film this thing. And then as I got more gear and the show became more successful, I'd reinvest it back into, more camera gear and stuff. And I was like, okay, what else can we do? What else can we do? So I have these extravagant opening sequences with the drone shots and stuff. And so it takes time. It takes time to put an episode out. I mean, this episode that I'm releasing this week, I filmed it almost a year ago.
Jeez.
Luckily, the content's still relevant, but 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 that's why I'm doing the calls right now in the portal, because there's just so much. There's so much information. There's so many modalities. There's so much to talk about. That as you are, you're doing your podcast, so there's never a lack of information or content to explore.
Yeah.
And I was kind of running out of steam in the sense of the keeping up with the pace of, I wasn't getting these episodes released as fast as I wanted to, and I wasn't doing as many interviews. So now with Zoom, or
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
types of live
Yeah.
streams,
Yeah.
we can have the conversation more, and we can unpack it and look at all the different modalities
Dude,
and
you're about to get an email from StreamYard probably in about less than 5 minutes. Like you call in the Zoom, like this is StreamYard. But anyways, like that, they're gonna be like Reuben Langdon, like.
no, but
But
StreamYard, great. I mean, that's what I mean. It's like
yeah,
the
yeah.
Xerox machine, right?
I
It's
like to
we
I like to
call
kid
copy
around all the
machine
time.
Xerox, even though it's just one brand, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Zoom
for
is sort of
sure.
like cornered the market in that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so now it's it's game on. We're doing it.
Yeah. My overall point behind that was the we can put out all the content we want, like, my books, all of it, but it's about an experience. You really don't learn it, you never absorb it until it's an experience. This is an experiential process. Like you can get ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get not, you can get knowledge, and you can hear people's stories, and you can build upon it, but it's never it's always an idea until it's an experience. And then after
Mm-hmm.
that, then it's okay. Like, all my lessons, like really lessons or anything, like have been from experience, like,
Absolutely.
and
That's the
you know
true. That's when it's solidified.
yeah.
That's the difference between book smart and street smart. You
Mm,
get people who are living the experience and doing it day to day and building those skills, as opposed
mm,
to just studying about it in the book.
mm.
And that's what I'm doing here in my homestead with sustainability, and trying out. We've got chickens, we
Yeah,
got
man.
rainwater collection, right? And we're doing a greenhouse, and I'm going to introduce fish this year and do some aquaponics. And
Nice.
there's, you can talk about it till you're blue in the face, but you're like, hey, I want to be my own sovereign being and not be dependent on
Mhm.
on these corrupt systems in place. Then
Yeah, man.
you have to do it. So, and I've been learning a lot. It's been awesome. Thank God for YouTube. We've got
Yeah.
tons of backyard gardeners and YouTube channels with amazing people with doing amazing. Luckily, they haven't started censoring those that much. The backyard gardening channels.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
who
yeah.
knows? That's probably next in line.
This is in this valley, like, I just got the well the other day and everything, and that's huge for the homestead here.
Mhm.
Going and getting water, that's not homesteading, that's just surviving, and I've been surviving for the
Yeah.
past 3 years. But
Wow.
the
Amazing.
the artesian well that we were getting water at, it's about 15 miles from us or so round trip. Getting water, just to get water, is about 3 hours, like, to go get water to bring back here, then unload it, transfer it
Yeah.
into the cistern inside and everything. But anyways, that's a whole different story. But my point behind all that, the artesian well, they're shutting it down. The county, this has been flowing for, at this point, for 106 years, has been a flow of water coming out of the ground for over 106 years, never stopping.
Right.
Nothing pushing it, but the pressure from the aquifer that it's in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the locals, there's a lot of homesteading around here, a lot of people building.
Hmm.
It's the one of the reasons why we haven't had a well. We were on a waiting list to get our well dug for the whole 3 years, like for when we bought the house.
Wow. Okay.
And so, but a lot of people has depended on this well.
Hmm.
And now the county and the state found out about it, and they've threatened to seize the land from the property owner if he doesn't shut it off to the public.
Wow.
Now
Yeah.
this is just water coming out of the ground that people would go up and fill up a bucket
Yeah.
or whatever, fill
Yeah.
up a tank in the back of their truck or whatever, and
Yeah.
it just
We have one of those here in Big Bear. A lot of people go and get mountain spring water, and then during COVID time, yeah, the forestry came in and shut it down, and you're just like, what? Oh, because it's COVID, it's dangerous.
how does yeah, I don't that's a whole nother story. You know, I talk about
Yeah.
this all the time. Um, you know, the ceremonies and everything really showed me about energy and how manifestation works, and what we even talk about, you know, is putting out energy. And then it hit me, you know, like, well, this was a road, you know, I went down Dr. Emoto Road, and
Hmm.
then that transformed into understanding, okay, about myself with water, you know, as the makeup of the human body. And then it hit me about, holy shit, I've been making my own prison, and by saying the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, and I've been giving my energy to them, and I've not only been making my prison and smiling because under the cloak of patriotism, you
Hmm.
know. And man, then I figured out, like, okay, if they're doing that, then I can, if I know that, then I can do that for me and my family's good, and the good of the whole of the humanity and everything, and use it for the good if I understand that power in those words and mantras and things like that.
Hmm.
So I think that's I
Well, you
think
should
that,
get the community together. You should, I
you
mean,
know,
you should get all, everybody who's using that well together, as well as the owner of the land, and you know, give a big middle finger to the state and to the
yeah,
county that wants to shut it down. It's like, if you show up in numbers, especially the people who rely on that, and if
yeah.
it's not a you know, it's people, you know, that are this, if it's worked so far for so long and people have been able to be, you know, it's a different story if there's people fighting and it's like an issue and that kind of stuff, but it sounds like if people are you know,
It's just
calm and collective around.
just a control, man. It's just a
Yeah,
control thing. And
that's exactly, I
but
mean, that's every aspect of our
yeah,
lives is that, I mean, the whole
yeah,
money system, right, that we're moving into with
all of it, dude.
CBDCs.
It's crazy.
It's so at some point the people are going to have to band together and give a middle finger to the establishment. And so, you know, so if they try to come shut it down, then show up in numbers, make sure you get everybody's cell phone in the area and
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
yeah, let's do it. Or, you know, how are they going to shut it down? What, you can't stop nature. What is that all about?
They said
You know?
they would come in and pour concrete and like and shut it off,
Yeah.
and
And
seize the
that's when
land
you
that's
handcuff
around them.
yourself to the cement
Yeah,
machine, and you
yeah.
go, you know, you go Standing Rock on their
Well, you
ass.
were, yeah. I was too much Standing Rock, and
Yeah,
you know, I definitely, I know you went, I know you spent some time there.
yeah. I
Um,
was just there for a
but
weekend, but yeah, it was amazing.
yeah,
And
yeah. I
yeah,
was
but
supposed to
that's
be
what you
there
got to
for a
do.
week, and it,
This is
yeah,
water. This is
yeah,
life. You don't shut down life.
yeah.
Life persists. Life goes on, and nobody should have control over water.
Mhm.
Water is a free human gift from our earth, and
It's so crazy
anybody.
you have to say this. You know,
I
it's
know.
so crazy. It's so crazy you even have to like formulate those words. You know, it's just insane.
Yeah.
It's just insane. But um,
But we're at
but
that
but
point. We're at that
but
point.
but as long as I waited for the well, I knew when that well was shutting down, I knew that my well would be here before that well, and it was.
Yeah.
You know,
But since
um,
you were part of that, I
the
would definitely go and support the community that's
yeah,
using it if you can.
I would. If there's a movement, I will. For me to head up, it's not.
Sure.
It was doesn't fit into my 26-hour day right now. You know,
Right.
I don't.
I
You know,
get you.
it's just
Yeah.
it's too filled up as it is. Like hell, my 1 year old, my little boy Hawk, he fills up it all anyways, just
I,
himself.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, he was born on 1/11, so he just had his birthday last month,
Oh,
and
nice. All right.
his name's Hawk. He's gonna be a
Very,
special little bit. Yeah,
very fitting name.
yeah. We got Ember coming in June. My wife's pregnant again,
Wow.
and
Congratulations.
again and last. But
Okay.
Ember Elomina is coming in June, so
All right. Sweet.
the the Ember to illuminate.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, man.
I see a question in the chat. Somebody's asking
Yeah,
me,
I gotta. There's actually a few of them. I'm gonna
okay, what's your
go.
place of power? Um, nature, anywhere in nature, is where I seek to sort of tune in, away from. But anywhere you can go into the cities. The great thing about Japan is they have shrines and temples, even in the cities, that they really respect the that the idea of a place to meditate or to tune in. So so that's always there's never a lack of places to do a little breath work or to just sit
Yeah,
and meditate in peace. And when I'm out there, when I'm here in the mountains in my homestead, it's great. I just my backyard is very peaceful. But
yeah,
there's hiking trails and mountains everywhere, so it's always good to go venture off into some of those new places and tune into the earth and feel what's going on.
yeah. Do you have a little home altar or anything at home?
Yeah, I mean, not in an altar sense. I mean, I've got a pile of crystals here next to my
Yeah, that's. I
UFO.
mean, there's no definition of it, but
Yeah, I
you know,
got my.
that's
This is
we're
my little altar here with the
yeah,
floating UFO.
nice.
um, but yeah, we have our my wife's studio, art studio is a place I've been doing some Wim Hof in and out of every Wednesday on my part of the membership portal. Teach Wim
Uh-huh.
Hof there.
Nice. So let's see. I'm gonna try to find this.
And yes, each person does have its place on the planet. There is no such thing, we wouldn't be here if they. Another Mary J question. We are all pieces of the cosmic puzzle, and we all have a unique purpose. So to think you don't would be a disservice to God, the universe, the all that there is. I love Bashar's quote where he says, the all that there is cannot exist without you. So by definition, all that there is includes you, and all that there is God, right? God cannot be God without all that there is, which means it's you, which you are part of. So therefore, you have a unique purpose and place in this universe. So find that. If you know just by logic, it's that's how it works. So the universe is constructed, and then find that belief, and then what is that? Each person they have to find that themselves. It's not somebody can't tell you what your purpose is.
Yeah, yeah, and that gets back to what I was talking about just a minute ago about you can talk about it to your blue in the face, but it's definitely an experiential thing. Something that you're gonna have to
Mhm.
go through, and then it really hits. Like, uh, man, I would have never. I've heard people talk about. I've had a vision of me being Jesus. I was on the cross, or this, that, and the other,
Mhm.
and then until I had it happen to me, it's like, oh, this is possible, and it's like it doesn't. You know, uh, I tell a story. I've met 1,000 Jesuses in my lifetime, like through the medicine work, and
Mhm.
that's another like Egypt. It's like a stage in the process of,
Sure.
and it's a big hurdle to get to, but once you get past it, then it starts getting easy. Once you get past the linear thought process,
Hmm.
uh, you know, we unknowingly, when we start to go through this learning process and spiritual growth, we'll carry over constructs and laws from the 3D into our spiritual practice. Like, okay, this
Hmm.
this is my past life. Well,
Right. Right.
if there's no such thing as a linear timeline, there's no such thing as past lives. We're talking about dimensional fields, energetic fields,
Right.
vibrational fields,
Yep.
whatever label you want to put on it, but it's more like that, and it's much more cylindrical, like,
Yeah, yeah. I
and
mean, and that's a big part of, I think, this what I try to offer with my show is
hmm
that those, so getting us out of the linear mindset, the
hmm
traditional metaphysical reincarnation sort of ideas are even my first episode, with Wendy Kennedy, that was sort of the big question to ask is, what is reincarnation, and explain that. And then, I think her answer was, paraphrasing, is and the question itself is flawed because you assume it's linear, right? So
hmm
when you realize that time is an illusion, a construct that we've created in order for
yeah.
us to get through our day-to-day lives in this third density reality, then then we can put that aside and say, oh, wait a minute, okay, we're we've been playing with the wrong rules. It's like playing with a deck of cards that's kind of outdated, and it doesn't fully represent the level of the game that you're playing right now. So
hmm
we need to level up and come up with better terms. And I feel that's where my show offers a plethora of new terms and new ideas and ways of describing
a plethora
reality.
to say the very least. Yeah, a plethora to say the very least.
Yeah.
So I know that in one of the at least one of the episodes you channeled yourself. What was that experience like from the other side?
Yeah, this is it was like how you described it, still present and aware. Um and It was kind of interesting because I had Barbara Lamb had regressed me. I had asked her to regress me so I could go get into the channeling state, something new for her and new for me as well. Um, and what happened was, I remember in real time listening to her voice, and all of a sudden it was like it was on the other side of the room. And then her voice, like it even sounded like it was in the corner.
hmm
And in real time, I'm like, how is that possible? I'm actually asking myself while I'm answering her questions. She's asking me questions and keeping me in that regression state. But I'm just like, how the hell did she get on the other side of the room? I know in my knowingness that she's right here. She didn't move. I didn't hear her get up. Nothing changed. But why does her voice sound like it's on the other side of the room? And it was not until after the regression that I realized that, oh, she didn't move. I moved. My consciousness took a step back in it, and where my consciousness, my awareness, Reuben, was actually more on the other side of the room, and her voice sounded like that to me because that's where my maybe my, not my physical body, but my conscious was sort of hanging out there.
It's
And
crazy
then
shit,
these
man.
and these other words coming out of my mouth that I didn't really have to think about. And some of the stuff, like one of the things that I said that sort of blew my mind in real time was, um, the when you're asking questions, the actual question contains the same vibrational frequency as the answer. So formulating your questions is super important,
hmm
and that's the reason is because it's a trigger. It's like a two-way lock and key. And if you have the key, then the lock. There's going to be a very specific lock that it matches.
hmm
So the question is sort of the key, and it draws in the right door that needs to be opened. And you may not be able to open the door right away because you haven't identified which door it is, but is the question is the key. So saying that kind of stuff in real time in the regression, again, mind blowing. I'm like, whoa, is that me? Did I have that in me? Where's that coming from? Like, so
Yeah,
that
dude,
was
I
a
get that.
fun, it was a fun experience because now I'm able, like I am now, able to describe it. So when people ask me what is channeling, I'm not a professional. I don't have the side to side,
Yeah.
whatever the thing is, or
Yeah.
the channeling, or like a seal, he goes into this extravagant thing. I don't have any
Yeah.
of those uh, modalities to get into the channeling stage right away. Perhaps some breath work. I've been doing breath work long enough that I'm able to sort of get to a stage where I can access information a little bit easier. Not full on channeling by any means, but I had that experience, so then I can describe it. So if somebody asks me, I'm like, okay, and then I talk to people who channel, and then they're like, yeah, that's kind of how it is. So it gives me a reference point. So again, not authority on the subject, but I can talk about it. I can
Yeah.
as an experiencer, right? I can
Yeah.
say, okay, this has been my experience, and it's similar to other people's experiences.
Yeah. When you say like we're channeling any time that we make any noise, we're channeling, because ultimately we're bringing it from either our mind or an outside source. It's ultimately channeling. Like I feel like, I
Yeah, I
see,
mean,
like
there is a
I see you more as source now than like I'm definitely not trying to disrespect anyone that channels or anything like that. Just want to put that out there. Like, I think it's all beautiful, and I honor it to the utmost. But I think that, just being able to align yourself, like without any without any other thing, and just allow your to speak and be aligned with that, maybe not the
yeah,
cuss words and the dirty jokes and things like that, but
right.
when we're sitting here talking about, things that our truths, when we're talking about our own personal truths, but ultimately, like at a certain point, you're more aligned with source than you are with the physical, and I think,
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, I think that's the integration phase. So I think what we're doing when we're channeling is, and I think there is a specific, when you just say a channeler, and everybody channels, and that's true. But I think there is a specific um, gateway into these other realms through a less of a filter, and of course we can access that at any time.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think in channeling, in the true sense of channeling, I think art, music, um,
Hmm.
ceremony or practices, runners high, um, these types of sort of transcendental type of mind states.
Hmm.
There's the flow state that Jason Silva talks about, that you
Hmm.
can get into, where your physical Reuben Langdon, the being, the meat body suit that is this carbon based unit that's having this conversation, can take a step aside and allow something a little bit less filtered.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
so, it's still coming through the Reuben filter, and there's still going to be those Reubenisms in there, but that whatever that is, right, and how to access that. I think that is sort of the general idea of what channeling is, and
Yeah.
how to access that. And then the next stage is, anybody can channel, but then integrating the teachings, allowing yourself to, on a daily basis, to walk the talk, to
Yeah.
to do what is being said, and be in that
Man,
frequency.
you're speaking my language, brother. Like this is,
Mhm.
I tell people a lot of times, even with the ceremonies, don't
Mhm.
concentrate on the ceremony so much. It's the
Mhm.
integration. Like you're here to have an experience, and you're here to integrate that into your life, so your
Mhm.
life changes.
Yeah.
You're not here to have a grandiose vision because you were screaming on the top of a mountain in some other dimensional field and tell that story.
Mhm.
You're here to dissect that and see how it relates to your life now, and apply the lessons that feel right to your heart into your life, and see how it
Exactly.
changes.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the integration is the focus,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's a focus on any of it. And
Yep.
I totally agree. I couldn't
Because
agree more.
I think the new Earth uh, operating system is we're all going to step into this channeling zone, right? Where the individual ego that the meat body suit, right? We're going to spend less attention there and go more into these flow states and access this more universal energy. And by doing so, certain survival things we can kind of let go a little bit, because that right now, really what that ego is trained to do is to survive, right? To
Yeah.
survive in this physical body. So once we come to the realization that, oh, I don't need my ego so much to survive, I'm okay if I, set up certain parameters and do certain things in certain
Mhm.
ways. I've got a roof over my head. I've got, clean, good food. I've got whatever. Um, so as long as I can sort of get into that basic, get out of that fight or flight state, and then start to open up creativity, let the ego come to take a back seat, so to say, then that veil, that doorway to these higher realms becomes less
Mhm.
prominent, right? It
Yeah.
fades, it thins away,
Yeah.
and and I think we're all going to, the new operating system is that we're all going to be operating from this less of a egoic state and more of a universal consciousness state. Of course, there's still going
Mhm.
to be the individual, and we'll all have the unique haircuts and the looks, and we can do whatever we want with our makeup and our clothes. We're not saying that that's going to go away. It's just the attention to that, to the fanaticism that creates the issues, right? Creates the jealousy, creates the revenge, or creates the dominance over another being, or this idea
Yeah.
that my way is the only way. All that stuff sort of
Yeah.
falls to
Yeah.
the wayside. So that's what I'm excited about, is just integrating these higher frequencies in a practical, physical way that creates more harmony around, with family, community,
Yeah.
and then once you're in that state, then you can, once you have a community that is supportive and you're supporting them, it's a really good feeling. You feel,
Yeah.
you don't feel that fight or flight goes away, and
Mhm.
everybody's got each other's back, and then you can focus on new things, new inventions, and that's where I think
Yeah.
this is really going. Is we're going to head into a new renaissance, a new area where, invention and creation is going to flourish unlike it's never flourished on this planet before.
I I totally agree. To quote the great Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Mhm.
you cannot manifest from a state of survival.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
and um, and that's yeah, I've been reading his latest book, Becoming Supernatural, and there's so much stuff in there, talking about how the heart comes online at three weeks into the gestation. The
Mhm.
brain takes I think it's around 2 months before the brain starts. So it's
Mhm.
like one of the things I tell people, like you're you may hear me say happy birthday or something like that, but if you know me, I'll say uh the sun took another trip around you, because
Mhm.
your universe is your heart center, and it pulses out from there.
Yep.
How your world that you manifest, it pulses out from there, and it starts here. Like that's why I tell everyone, like your work is in yourself first. Like you cannot
Mhm.
do you can't people think they drink ayahuasca once or twice, or they set with 5 grams of mushrooms and then they want to start, setting with people, and it's like they're unknowingly passing on some of their pain and traumas just
Sure.
by being in the presence, and not enough of a hollow bone to be in
Hmm.
that presence.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's a
Yeah,
big
humility is important for sure.
humility is, it took me, I the sun dancing really took a lot out of me as far as that humility. I pulled skulls my second year. That was, uh, you know, passed out several times and had some amazing visions that were just very life changing.
Mm.
In the end. But yeah, but now is the time. I don't judge anyone. Like if they're serving medicine, I know that even if you're serving medicine and maybe you're not ready, that's also part of the grand design too.
Sure. Yeah.
I've come to step away from. That's why you was talking about like the Standing Rock thing before and
Hmm.
everything. I've come to step away from that. Like that's someone's fight, but that's
Yeah.
probably not my fight. Like
Sure.
I
Yeah.
I try to affect things in a more quantum field, and it's becoming a lot more effective by trying to do that. By the way, I want to suggest 5-MeO. Like if you haven't, if you have,
Unfortunately, smoking and I don't get along very well. So
yeah,
I've attempted, with a vape and stuff with not 5-MeO, but with DMT, straight DMT, and never had an effect on me. I've tried it quite a handful of times.
yeah,
So for me, my path into that world is with just breath work or
yeah,
good old grandmother Aya. San
yeah.
Pedro works well as well. I haven't had any grandfather medicine in a while, but yeah, those ingestible medicines are more my path. Anything smoke wise just it doesn't work for me.
Dude, I got almost directly underneath me. I got about 30 San Pedros growing right now in the greenhouse. So
Oh,
you
nice.
next time you're coming through here, man, stop by and I'll adopt one out to you for
Oh wow,
sure.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah, I'd be happy to. But yeah, the 5-MeO is it's almost not. It's really not visionary,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really interesting going in with an intention in 5-MeO as long as it's like heart centered, and
Mm-hmm.
then watching how fast that intention that request is filled. Like
Mm.
that's 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 the best. That's my experience lately with 5-MeO. Like I've been serving it, but also been working on a dieta on my own, doing microdoses and like small hits daily, praying with the sun. And
Have you
yeah, it's
seen the Machine Elves?
no, no, not
Okay.
no, not not with that at
No,
all.
with that. Okay.
I have the four DMT,
Mm-hmm.
our body DMT.
Mm-hmm.
That's I have done that when it was just straight DMT, but like we work with chonga, which is a mixture of chonga and ayahuasca,
Mm-hmm.
like DMT extracted ayahuasca and smoked. That's a heightened state of ayahuasca, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But the machine elves, I haven't seen that since I've done like DMT a few times, maybe 2 or 3 times, but
And did
it
you
was
see them
just
then? Have
I've
you seen
seen
them
them one,
before?
I've
Yeah.
seen them once in there, but the last time I did DMT, ayahuasca popped in, and she said, "What are you doing here?"
Mm.
And she said, this is not your space.
Mm-hmm.
You work in a different space, and
Mm.
this is meant for some people, but this is not meant for you." And
Awesome.
yeah, but the 5-MeO, when I finally I done Yopo a few years ago, which is 5-MeO DMT, and had a
Mm-hmm.
traumatic experience that shut me down from 5-MeO. But the
Mm.
bufo varius, that the secretion that comes from the Colorado
Yeah.
River toad, the bufo varius toad,
Yeah.
found in the Sonoran Desert. That is, if I had my experience with Source spontaneously, where I gave up my form, um, and went into source, and then when I was source, I as soon as I become source, I realized that everything was perfect, and I had
Mhm.
nothing to do, and it was very boring. And then it hit me why this all was going on, and
Right.
I come back into a different phase of this life,
Hmm.
But then it went, several ayahuasca ceremonies and all that. But the first time I did bufo was, it's like, oh, it's like this is how to show people source. Like this is, and yeah, man, it's definitely straight
Well,
source.
there's
And
another question from Mary J. She's
what is
asking,
that?
do you believe in an afterlife?
Hmm.
And I think I think based on what you just said, yeah, of course, we've all been there. We've all seen
in
the
a
afterlife.
Yeah, depending on your definition, definitely,
Yeah.
in the traditional sense of, you know, you're gonna be in another body. I think,
Well, it's the law of
uh,
conservation.
yeah,
Energy can only be shifted; it can't be destroyed. So,
yeah,
just based on our own physics in this realm, even we know that nothing is ever destroyed; it just changes shape and
sure.
form. So,
And I think that's ultimately circling back to your show. It's
mhm.
ultimately showing and proving that, every time you put out another episode is proving that more and more that there any thought that's ever had any or any group of thoughts as far as like a consciousness of a being is always going to be there once it happens. Like, there's so
Yeah,
in a
the
theory
akashic, the akashic records.
in a
Yeah.
theory, this conversation right now will be accessed into
Mhm.
eternity.
Yep.
This particular conversation that we're having right this moment in some
Yeah, and it's
informational
gonna
field.
it's gonna resonate with other conversations and other podcasts that are out there, and they'll be all accessible when someone tunes in, right, to like a radio station, tunes into the
Mhm.
right frequency, and then they can just like Mary J here is hanging in on in the chats and and sort of tuning in here, so there's a resonance with the information, with the your archetype, my archetype, and who we are as beings, and sharing our
Mhm.
messages. Um, I'm really excited. I've got a new episode coming out later this week. What are we at? We're on Thursday. Maybe even come out tomorrow. We'll see if I can get it out that fast. Um, we'll probably I might have to wait till Sunday or Monday, but I interviewed Heidi Wright, who's an animal communicator, and she's very, very talented. She's been on many TV shows in Asia, mostly Japan and Korea, and she has an uncanny ability to be very specific with communicating with animals. So much so that the animals, you see a very in real time reaction. So she's communicating, the animals react, and they'll change. They'll make changes based on her communication. So I use that. I brought her into the show because um, I wanted to talk about, show people out there, my audience, that
Yeah.
telepathic communication is real. We talk about it a lot, connecting in with the channelers and connecting with ETs. But for a lot of people, they're
Mhm.
like, they're just making it up. It's just in their head. They're not, how are they? What is the proof? How can we actually see that these people are actually telepathically communicating with these beings?
Yeah.
Well, when you have a physical animal there and they're physically reacting based on communication through ESP that Heidi is having with these beings, then it's proof in the pudding. Also, when
Mhm.
there is when the animal is communicating specific things to Heidi that only that animal and know, that there's no way Heidi can never know these things, and then you're like,
Mhm.
okay, she's clearly communicating with the animal. The animal is telling her things that that nobody else knows except for me and the animal, right? So
Yeah.
she has that uncanny ability, and proves it over and over and over and over again. So it's not just a one-off thing, and I think that's awesome because once we solidify and show people that it's possible, then they can switch their heads into like throwing all this channeling stuff into the BS camp, and they can say, oh, well, that's a possibility. I haven't experienced it myself, but it's a
Right.
possibility.
And
So
then it happens,
then it happens. That's
then it
it.
happens.
That's it.
They were walking around out here today, the well drilling guys, and they pulled out some witching sticks,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
walking around
Couple of copper
and
wire rods that are pointing, and you
yeah,
get to find the flow of the water. Yeah.
yeah, and they were walking around, and
Dowsing.
one of the guys, yeah, dowsing. There you go.
Yep.
One of the guys is like, "Man, put that shit away." He's like, "That shit freaks me out." I'm like, "Why does it freak you out?" He's like, "Well, I've had a few near death experiences, and like, I try I just try to live my life and forget about all that. But when I see like the dowsing sticks, it brings it all back." And
Yeah. Why is he
and
trying to run away from it?
I don't know. I think he's settled into who he is, and just ready to stay there, and that's fine. But for my teacher Renato Renato Guerrero from Chile, he's like one of our, like, my main plant teacher. He's a brother now and a partner, but he definitely taught me a lot about plants coming up. And one time after ceremony, I was watching him with a pendulum. I never believed in pendulums or anything, and I just seen him playing with his meridian points on his hands with his pendulum, And I didn't ask him about it. I didn't even let him know I saw it. I just a couple of days later, we stopped by a metaphysical store. I was like, "Hey, babe, I got to go find a pendulum. I got to play around with this." And this is a true story, man. I walked into the metaphysical store, and this may be about 2 or 3 days after a ceremony. I walked over. I went to go grab a pendulum off the rack, and all the pendulums on the rack, they like flowed. They come out towards me. They like a magnet.
Wow. There you go.
And
so you had a lot of willing ones. Which one did you pick? Did you buy them all?
No. It was just a clear crystal with a spiral wrapper on a spiral silver wrapper on it.
Oh,
but yeah, it was just them playing with it. This is an exercise I do now, like when I go speak at conferences or I like to do it before I serve the medicine in ceremony. I like to crack the egg before I actually serve the medicine, and I'll do this thing with a pendulum. I'll hand the pendulum to a person, and I'll hand them a lighter, and I have them put it on the ground, and I'll be like, okay, let's talk about this lighter. It's a piece of plastic. It's made by Bic. It's got a piece of metal in it, a piece of flint. It's got a little bit of propane or whatever the accelerant it is, and and as a person holds the pendulum over, as we talk about that, they're notice the pendulum has not little to no activity, most of the time no activity holding over but the moment we start to talk about the lighter as a representation of the central fire, because it can hold a flame, so it's a representation of the central fire. It lights sage, it lights tobacco, it lights changa, Palo Santo, the list goes on and on and on. So it's a sacred item, it's a sacred tool, and the pendulum starts to move. And then we'll be like, it's just a fucking piece of plastic. And watch the pendulum. And then we'll go back and forth like that until, it hits them like how powerful words are.
Yeah.
I asked the spirits one time, this is when I was talking to the spirits. Like, I don't really talk like this anymore. Like, it's more of just a direct thing. But when I was talking to them, I said, how powerful are our words? I closed my eyes, and in the darkness, I saw a butterfly flap its wings. And in a dimension and a solar system far, far away, it was a solar flare that initiated by that butterfly flapping its wings in our dimensional field. And they said, that's how powerful your words are.
That's words are their vibrations, their frequencies. They have resonance that that go and ripple throughout the universe.
Yeah.
For
so
sure.
What's next on the list for you, brother? When's a book coming out? That's what I want to know.
The book. Yeah. Well, I'm working on a TV show called Quest of the Crystal Skull. It's around the Mitchell Hedges Crystal Skull. Been following Bill Holman, who's the caretaker and guardian of the skull, and that it's a full-on TV series that's looking like it's going to be around 13 episodes, and excited. We're looking for funding right now so we can finish the post-production process. It's a very polished series, so we hope to get it on like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime kind of thing. Gaia, I hope they take it as well, but we're really aiming for some of the bigger networks. It has that appeal to it, Mitchell Hedges Skull being sort of the inspiration for Indiana Jones, and the sort of the first of the Crystal Skull phenomenon that's out there now. And then I've got a few more episodes to finish up my series, and
Nice.
so season 3. I can't even think about a season 4 at this moment because I've got the other series I'm working on. So right now it's just putting these last few episodes out, and then going full in and on post production with the Quest of the Crystal Skull series.
It's amazing. Yeah, my teacher Renato, he tells he had experience with one of the crystal skulls that he held it for someone gifted it to him after a ceremony. They had one wrapped up in a large one. I guess from what I understand, it was real, like it was one of the original ones. And after a ceremony, this was in Northern California, after a ceremony on the beach, and the guy handed it to him, and he turned around and a wave hit him and it washed it out of his hands. And he said, I held one of the original crystal skulls for less than a second before the ocean took it back.
Wow.
So, yeah.
The owner must have been pissed.
No, he said, he had it for like 20 years. He was some well-off guy that come into possession of it, but when something in the it was a San Pedro ceremony, like overnight San Pedro ceremony on the beach, and something told to give it to Renato. But yeah, so closing out, man, what's your message for humanity, bro? What that
I
not
think
your
this whole
overall,
podcast was the message.
Yeah,
but yeah, there is a veil that's thin, and there's amazing magic out there. We just have to choose to believe it for one, and then once we believe in it, we can start looking at what it has to offer. There's a whole unseen universe, right, that outside of our physical reality, and once we allow it in, and use discernment for what we do allow into our field and our consciousness, then magic happens. Magic is real. So if anything, just having these conversations to just prove that, and let's go have fun. Let's purge out this the sickness that's in the world right now, and get ready for the new earth. It's coming. We're going to be the ones that get to make it. So what an honor.
Yeah, what an honor, man. Connect to your breath and do the work. That's, and yeah.
Yep.
The magic is real. That's powerful. People need to hear that. Stick around for just a minute, brother. We're talking just a minute. Let me close this out. Everybody, sure. Reuben Langdon, I appreciate and honor you, brother, so much. And thanks for coming on. And yeah, I got to have you back on soon.
For sure.
It's been a great conversation, and
awesome.
Yeah, we're always there'll be nothing short to talk about for sure. But stick around for just a minute after the show. I'll catch up. All right, everybody. Reuben Langdon. I'm not going to be long. I'm not going to take up much more of his time. I know he's waiting. But yeah, tomorrow, Dr. Christopher Macklin, AI, nanotechnology, the effects on humanity, and transhumanism. So we're going to get into that. And that's, yeah, I'm sure that Dr. Macklin has had some type of jujitsu or some type of thing. It'd be interested to see. So yeah, tune in tomorrow night. I think it's on at 5. Check the schedule. It'll be on my Facebook. If if this is your first time listening, I appreciate it. Um, Mary Kay, thanks for staying in the chat room with us and staying strong. And I hope this reaches the people it needs to reach. Peace out. Catch you tomorrow night, guys.